Meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered and paying my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Governance Committee meeting on the 4th of the 11th, 2025. I declare this meeting open at 10:25 a.m. I would like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. Attendances and leaves of absence. We have a motion on the screen for a leave of absence for Councillor Fraser. I'll have that moved by Councillor Murphy, seconded by Councillor Hall. All those in favour? It's been carried, thank you. Confirmation of previous minutes. There's now a motion displayed on the screen to confirm the previous minutes. Can we have someone to move that motion? Thanks, Councillor Stamp. And someone to second it? Thank you, Councillor Ledger. All those in favour? That's been carried. Thank you, councillors. Declarations of conflicts of interest. I now refer to declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest today? Mayor Raven.
Thank you, Chair. I don't seek to declare a conflict, but I do seek to declare some personal interest to give councillors the opportunity to raise a conflict if they believe I have one. In item 6.2, I've sought advice from the City Solicitor before making these statements. In item 6.2 and 6.3, which present the audited financial statements for the City of Logan Charitable Trust and the quarterly financial report for the City of Logan Charitable Trust, both for councillors noting, I have a personal interest in that my wife, Alison Raven, was appointed as the Director of the Board of City of Logan Charitable Trust with effect from 22nd of January 2025. I've sought advice from the City Solicitor and she has said that she does not believe I have a declarable conflict of interest because there is nothing material that will trigger a declarable conflict of interest in either matter. While I do have a personal interest, there's no basis, the City Solicitor can see no basis for suggesting the Council's decision to receive the City of Logan Charitable Trust audited financial reports and quarterly report might lead to a decision that's contrary to the public interest. As such, I'm of the view that I don't have a declarable conflict of interest in these matters, but for the sake of transparency, councillors are welcome to declare a conflict against me if they'd like to, and I'm happy to consider that. And I've got more after that one, but I assume that Councillor Bradley wants to speak to that one.
Do you have a question, Councillor Bradley?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, thank you. I just want to ask a question if the Mayor's wife actually receives an income from the Trust?
No directors of the board receive an income from the Trust, including the Mayoress.
Thank you. Sorry, another question?
Yes, there is. Sorry,
hang on. We'll go on to Councillor Bannon.
Sorry, question through the chair. I'm just not sure why we're revisiting it. Is there a reason? Just because we've done this a couple of times and it's always been not a. Is there a reason? Have you been told we need to do this every time?
It's just in an abundance of caution on transparency that I raise it. So if councillors wish to raise a conflict, they can, and I'm not perceived to be trying to disguise or vote or influence a matter in which I could have a conflict of interest.
Carry on, Mayor Raven.
Item 6.12 is in relation to a number of policy modernisation reports that we're considering. While item 6.12 recommends that Council adopt the draft City Shape Mobility and Infrastructure Policy, Thriving Communities Policy and Water Waste and Energy Policies as part of Phase 2 of the Policy Modernisation Project. One of these policies refers to changes to agistment, and my wife Alison Raven holds a permit from under the current policy to agist horses on council-owned land. I understand that the permit will not be affected by the recommended change. However, in the interest of transparency, I sought to raise it and sought advice from the City Solicitor, who stated that as this would be considered an ordinary business matter, that I do not have a conflict of interest under the provisions of the Act, as this impacts a significant number of people across the City of Logan, anyone who agists property from the City of Logan, but I give opportunity to councillors who may wish to raise a conflict of interest that they can do so if they want to at this time.
Councillor Bradley.
I can't force the Mayor to do so, but I do suggest, whilst it may not be a conflict of interest, I think just in terms of the public perception, and that's really what we're here for, it might pay just to remove yourself. That's just my opinion.
Go ahead.
So based on legal advice, I don't believe I have a declarable conflict of interest, but Councillor Bradley is welcome to test the floor to see if the room believes I have a conflict of interest, and they're welcome to vote accordingly.
Councillor Bradley, would you like to?
I stated
on it.
my opinion to the mayor. It's up to him.
Yep, so you have opportunity as well. You're okay? No worries. Have some more?
No, that's all of them. Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Appreciate your indulgence.
Excellent. We'll move on to reports. Any other councillors? Conflicts of interest? No, we're good. Moving on to reports. Does anyone have any general business for the Director of People and Engagement, Kim Bryant? Kim has said she doesn't have any for you. And so we'll move through to 6.1, Underwood Innovation Lab audited financial statements for 24-25, and Mr. David Radich will come and speak to those, or not.
Through the Chair, Councillor Jackson, I think that today we have Stephen Korn and Jody Pisani from the Innovation Lab, which are going to answer questions on the report. If we can just ask them to come forward.
Yep. You guys are welcome to come. Take a seat up here in the hot seats. Thank you. We have Jody and Director Stefan, who's speaking to the report. Either of you?
Thank you, through the chair. I might just say a few covering words and leave the detail to Jody, but we also take the report as read. And I just thought I'd take the opportunity, first of all, to thank the council for your continued support of the lab. And just to give you a bit of a heads up from the board as well, these kind of financial statements don't tell the full story. So I just wanted to say, from a board's perspective, we believe the lab is going extremely well, and we are planning to prepare a separate shareholder report, which is really our initiative to give you a better view of how things are going in the lab. So that's outside of the statutory reporting. And we're planning to share that with the council in January to give you an idea of what's going on. And the key focus areas for the board at the moment are really to well and truly land the strategic direction for the UI Lab. We've obviously had a year of change, but it's starting to bed down, and we wanted to share that with you. We wanted to share the key strategic pillars for what UI Lab will be doing and how it will be contributing to the community. And lastly, I wanted to give the council a heads up that as part of normal board operations, we're starting a bit of a refresh program around directors as well. So, most boards have some sort of a schedule over time to replace directors and keep the skills and the capabilities on the board in line with the organization. And we've started that process. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that one of our directors, Michael Dickerson, is going to step down from his directorship. As it happens, he needs to do that anyway as he's relocating to Singapore. And in line with sort of conversations with management, we felt that now that UI Lab is established, we also wanted to have more of a local presence of a director who better understands the local context in Logan. So we will be looking around for someone who can bring that local presence as well as contribute to the overall vision of really establishing UI Lab as an emerging tech hub for the city. So I might finish with covering words there and then take any questions on the report.
Thank you. Any councillors have questions? Thank you, Councillor Herrmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for presenting these financial statements. I have a couple of questions, and the first one's just on the actual financial statements themselves and some detail within them. In the very first page where it talks about income and then cost of operations, excluding ongoing costs like employee costs and rent, just looking at those two tables, I can see that you have income line items and then you have cost of goods sold line items. And for the first few line items, they link up really well. You can see the drone project in 2024 financial year, it collected 176 grand. And you can go down to the cost of goods sold line item and you can see in 2024, it cost 128 grand, and then in 2025 it cost 113 grand. Now, going down the cost of goods sold line item, I can see there's a line item that says events, but that events line item doesn't directly link with any of the income line items. Does that mean that those goods sold in the forms of events didn't receive any income and that's why it's not a line item? Or is it within another line item like those operational grants for a specific purpose? Where's the link of that cost of goods sold?
Through the chair, I would like to take that one on notice, but my understanding is it could be either of those options. So there may not have been any income related to those costs of goods sold, or that we did receive a number of grants that had delivery mechanisms through events. So I would need to interrogate that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, that'd be good to know because it might have been cost of goods sold, just that good had a $0 value
That's
to
right,
it.
yep.
And that's why it's not a line item. But yeah, that'd be good to get some more information on that. Scrolling down on the expenses section of this report, it mentions a restructure and legal expenses. I can see that the restructure cost over $112,000 in the 2025 financial year. I know there has been a few changes in terms of the structure of the organisation, but still it's a relatively small organisation in comparison to Logan Council or Logan Water. Can you explain why a restructure of a relatively small organisation costs over $112,000 combined with over $66,000 spent on legal expenses over the past 2 financial years?
So the restructure involved a number of things to do with when the previous CEO departed the organisation, and we had some work done on looking at the strategy through one of our directors who assisted with that, and then that incurred some costs in doing so. But there was also some costs to recruit a new CEO. So the board made that decision to get a recruitment agency to do so. When Graham stepped into that role, he was on a contract and he wasn't working as an employee. So some of those costs, majority of those costs are actually attributed to the CEO when he was brought on board. They just weren't attributed to wages at that stage because he wasn't an employee.
Okay. Another line item, venture development, $28,000 in the most recent financial year. Can you please describe to me what is included in that $28,000 that was spent on venture development?
I'll have to take that one on notice.
Okay. Another one, $2,000 on workers' compensation expense. Is that expense towards an individual case or claim, or is that towards an overall insurance type scheme for workers' compensation?
Yeah, that one's for insurance purposes.
Okay. Thank you. It'd be good to receive some answers on those questions.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, there is a motion on the screen. Would someone like to move this motion? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Someone to second that? Councillor Jeremiah. All those in favour? That has been carried. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
Abstain, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Right. Does anyone have any general business for the Economic Development and City Planning Manager? Nope. Do you have any for us? No, thank you. Going on to item 6.2, City of Logan Charitable Trust, and I'll get Mark to come up and speak about that. Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you for your time, Mayor and councillors. It's a regulatory requirement of the general audits that our annual financial statements, including council's beneficial enterprises, and that the mayor presents these to council. So today, the audited financial statements for the City of Logan Charitable Trust for the financial year of 2024-2025 are presented for council's consideration, and it's recommended that these financial statements are noted. Also, I'd like to point out that as part of the recent organisational restructure, the oversight of council's beneficial enterprises has transitioned to the relevant branches within council. And for the charitable trust, the community development program within the economic development and city planning branch going forward will have oversight of this particular beneficial enterprise. We have John Gilmore today, the chair of the charitable trust, is here to answer any questions that you may have. So open to questions.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Hermai.
Thank you. I have a question regarding an expense that was related to the 2024 financial year. It states that an expense of $829 was incurred in that financial year for fines and penalties. Could you please give me some more information about what that fine and penalty expense is in relation to?
That was before my time, but from what I can remember from reading the financials as I came in board, that was a fine for a late fee for reporting to the ASIC ACNC requirements of the trust. There is a set time frame where reports and registrations need to be done for those organisations. That is my understanding, but I could actually look in more detail of that. But it was before I took over.
Yeah, that would be great to look into some more detail, especially to see if it was more of an individual issue that caused this in terms of a person's error, or if there's an error in terms of the operations and procedures of the organisation. So having a look and adopting any lessons that can be learned from that would be good, so we don't get another fine.
Just to confirm to you, we have made payments to both ASIC and ACNC as required for this financial year already.
That's great. Not really related to what I said, but...
I was just trying to reassure you that we don't believe that will be an occurrence that will continue into the future under our management.
That's great. If we can get a confirmation as to what that fine or penalty was, and then any lessons learned that have been adopted from that, I think that's a good idea that I'd appreciate.
Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Chair. Could I please just inquire about the... I was really excited I was hoping to read in these reports, and maybe it's a different document that I'm looking for. I was excited to see about where the charitable, the income would be presented to in the community, different groups. Is that a different document that I would be looking for?
Yes, I believe so. We would always have a summary of what grants were issued to community, but that would be always a total grant, and you will be aware we only had $10,000 worth of grants issued last year because of the status of the funding of the trust at the time that we came in. We certainly in our activity report, which will occur 6 monthly, will give more detail about those items. Just to reassure you again, it is our intention, based on the current financial standing of the trust, that we will do another grant round to the community before Christmas.
Oh, thank you. Does that mean, okay, so how much?
It'll be a very small number again, probably about $15,000. We did 10,000 last year, 1,000 so far this year, we would like to think, but we're having a meeting in 2 weeks' time to establish that. But we have a lot of plan. We've got the Christmas function already in tow, and we will be announcing the formal date of the gala at the 12th of December function. So that's all being locked in, ready to do fundraising for next year. Wonderful.
Thank you. And also with the, as well as finding out where the money is going, it would be wonderful to get in that same document, potentially a list of where the funding is coming from, because I'm finding it difficult. Yep. I'm wondering, do I have a conflict of interest? I'm always wondering as a councillor, do I have a conflict of interest? So would that also include the donations and where they've come from?
At the last meeting, we had that conversation and the city lawyer advised us that we should not detail donation origins to the council because that may present you with a perceived conflict of interest if that was seen. So I've been working on the theory, we keep detailed records of all the donations. I was led to believe that we would not be providing that individual information to council to protect that concept. I think that's correct from the last meeting when I read the resolutions.
Okay then.
So,
Okay. I'll have to ponder that one. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think we also noted that it's a separate entity that we are not a part of. So we're not on the board of that. So unless you've got a family member on the board of it, then that removes us from it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I just respond to that? However, one of the directors of the board is married to the mayor, which I, would not be suggesting that there is a conflict, but it does make things a little bit messier than it would be otherwise.
Fair enough. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Bannon.
Going through it all, you must be wrapped. Like you've crushed from 24 to 25, you've crushed it. Like the income, the sponsorship, the events, like nothing was happening until you guys took over. So you must be chuffed with it. I think it's actually doing something for the first time. So like I'm wrapped with it. So you must be pleased with the way it's going forward.
I have to say we're really quietly confident of where we're going. I still think we've got big plans for us to deliver this year beyond what we were planning. So we were, trying to aim at that 160,000 fundraising. It's separate to any inputs from council. In addition, I think we're trying to see if we can beat that. The other thing is that we have progressed the conversation with Queensland Gives, which is a major foundation in Queensland established by Mike Ahern many years ago, got about $19 million under control with QIC. We're talking to them about the creation of that community fund that we talked about at the last position, where we can actually come up with a structure that allows non-DGR1 charities to get funds from us. So we've had some really good positive conversations with them, and in this financial year, we'd like to think that if we can increase the amount of money that we bring into the trust, not only we will give more grants out, and we will go to open grant rounds again in May next year. So we will go out to the community actively inviting grants again. But we are talking about creating that fund with some of the funds we have. We need a minimum of $50,000 to invest in QIC to allow that to occur. We would like to think in 2026 we will be in that position to do it. So again, yes, we're really committed. We think we can actually turn this thing around and keep it going. We do believe there is an ability to create, millions in the fund to give to charity, and that just means we can give more and more to charities in Logan. Again, we're continuing to manage our expenses. The positions have been reviewed by HR. We talked about a review of those positions. We are going to go to market with those positions in the open market in the next month to actually, again, do that correct process of positioning us going forward with events and fundraising support.
And through the chair, I run events on how hard they are, and we're doing a charity event in a couple of weeks. So the fact that I know how hard it is to ask for money,
Yeah.
but the way I look at it, mate, couldn't be happier. So she'd be very proud of your board, and I think it's amazing what you've done. So appreciate it.
Thank you very much on behalf of the board and the staff, the one staff member.
Thank you, councillors. There'll be a motion on the screen. If someone would like to move that motion, Councillor Bannon, someone to second it, Councillor Murphy. All those in favour? That is being carried. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Thank you. Item 6.3, City of Logan Charitable Trust Quarterly Financial Update, 1st of April 25 to 30 June. Thank you.
Through the chair. So at its council's meeting in 16th of April of 2025, council requested that the trust would provide quarterly reports to council outlining its financial position. And so today, the quarterly financial report for the trust for the period 1 April 2025 to 30 June 2025 is presented for consideration by council, and it's recommended that this report be noted. And we also have John, who's able to answer any questions that anybody has.
Do we have any questions? There being none, there'll be a motion. Motion on the screen, Councillor Bannon, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Murphy. All those in favour? That has been carried. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving to item 6.4, Greenavate audited financial statements for 24-25 financial year. And Mark, you're speaking to this one as well. Thank you.
Through the chair. So it's a regulatory requirement for the Auditor General audits the annual financial statements of council's beneficial enterprises, and the Mayor presents these to council. So the audited financial statements for Greenavate for the 24-25 financial year are presented for council's consideration, and it's recommended that these audited financial statements are noted. Also just like to point out, as part of, again, the organisational restructure, the oversight of council's beneficial enterprises has transitioned to relevant branches within council, and because of that, Greenavate will come under the oversight of the Waste, Resource and Recovery branch going forward. And we have Chris White here, who's the CEO of Greenavate, who is available to answer any questions that councillors may have.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Harrimeyer.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And you're based in Division 8, your business. It's a Division 8 business, so welcome to council.
Thank you, Councillor.
I did want to ask, I remember, well, I'm very confident that when this was all set up, there would have been a long-term financial forecast looking at each year that you're in existence. You would have a goal as to how much you want to spend, what you want to do each year. When are we expected to receive a comparison of your actuals with this recent financial statement compared with your projections that must have been drafted when this all started?
Thanks, Councillor. Probably the best way to look at this is a construction project that's going to convert into an operational project. So at this point, we're madly building the facility. We are well ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. We're about 7 months ahead of the original plan, and we will be operational on the 1st of July 2026 to receive primarily initially Logan's tonnes and Ipswich tonnes, and then a few months later we'll receive Redlands tonnes. So to do this comparison is quite difficult because we're in a construction phase. So we have roughly $57 million we're spending between now, or we're already in process of spending, to when we go live. Then there's the operational phase. So this is a design, build, operate and maintain contract. So we're in the construction phase, or the design and build phase. So to do those comparisons, and if you look at our results there, you know, we have a financial loss this year of $800,000. Now that is really relating to the corporate costs of running Greenavate while we're doing the construction. So there's a lot of CapEx going out as well as funding coming in. So to answer your question of when that's going to happen, it'll be the next financial year. So from July to June 2026 to 27.
So in a year's time, we will have reached a point where we've progressed so far in this organisation existence that we can look back, compare our projections that we did when we first started this, and see whether or not the project went on track, whether or not the project went over budget, under budget, was delivered on time, was delivered late. We'll be able to do a comparison in a year's time. Is that correct?
I don't know about in a year's time, because when we get to the 1st of July, that's when we open, and then we'll start receiving income coming in. So we're in construction phase right till the 30th of June, and then we're in functional completion, and then we'll move to practical completion. But from the 1st of July, we'll start getting an income from gate fees, and then we'll have expenses of labour, operating costs for the facility. We will have spent the $57 million in the construction of the building and the MRF facility, and then to get that comparison that you're seeking, to do a year-on-year comparison would be the following financial year, but I'd be very confident that to say at this time next year, to be able to show you a projection saying, right, this is what our forecast looks, our budget looks like for the 26-27 financial year based on these gate rates, comparatively to what the original model was.
Okay, well, I look forward to that meeting in a year.
Fabulous.
We have the councillors' questions. Yep. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, so if I just
get
do
an
a quick
update, thank you.
overview of the project to give everyone a bit of a feel for where we're at. The project's going fabulously well. The building is up. We're in a process now where we'll be putting the Regroup as the constructor of the MRF facility. They'll be entering the facility on the 19th of November. A lot of the equipment is already arriving on site and in process of arriving on site. So that's why we're so far ahead of our schedule. Everything's going fantastically well, which is great. Obviously, that's the aim of the game. One key issue we do have is because we're so far ahead, we're 7 months ahead of program, the original funding arrangement with the state and obviously with our shareholders being these councils, there is some issues with our funding as far as our outgoing payments in relation to our funding coming from the state and the feds. So we are approaching each of the councils at the moment to assist us potentially in some cash flow shortfall, because obviously there is a timing issue with regards to where we can actually make these claims to the state to get our funding versus paying our contractor because we are so far ahead of schedule. We have approached the QTC to request some funding, but because we're a beneficial entity owned by 3 councils, they're reluctant to go down that track. We're having some communication with this council at the moment and the other 2 councils around potential funding of a shortfall of cash that we're looking at, and we'll work through that. And so there'll be a little bit more communication coming through. At the moment, the modelling looks very positive from a cash flow perspective, but we're just being a little bit cautious. Thank you.
You're right.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah. Good to see
Did you have a question? Thank you, Mayor Raven.
No question, just a comment. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. There'll be a report coming to council in the next round, Robert, or a future report coming to council that will consider what Chris is discussing, because at the moment it's still being circulated between the 3 councils.
Thank you.
Councillor Jeremiah.
Thank you, and that's a really interesting point, Chris. So that expense that you're anticipating, that's for capital purposes? We're experiencing the exact same thing in Division 8 with a road upgrade, that another level of government has said, we will cover this cost, but the money hasn't arrived yet. We want to get it done now. So we're thinking, or I'm thinking, that maybe council can step in and use some cash on hand to build the road upgrade, and then once the other levels of government sort out the paperwork, the money will come in. So it'll be a good investment for council because it'll get paid back, basically guaranteed, because the other levels of government have promised it, but we get the capital item delivered quicker. I was informed by a council officer that would be difficult because the other levels of government have
Councillor
their
Jeremiah,
funding.
can I just interrupt you and ask you the relevance to this report?
Yeah, so I was informed that the other levels of government have a condition on their funding to state that construction has to start at a certain time, which makes it difficult. How are you handling that? Is that condition applied on your organisation from those other levels of government when it comes to that expected cash inflow?
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor. There are, in the milestone payments that we have with the process, is that there are key criteria we've got to achieve. So there's certain milestones within the payment claim. So we're very much ahead of those claims. I just might make a comment that as far as a cash flow perspective, and I know Mayor Raven has stated this, that there's a paper coming. We are not in a negative cash position. We're just being prudent in case there's a timing difference.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not the fact that, because we're fully funded. Okay, we've got funding coming from the councils, funding from the state, and that's where we're at. What we, as a CEO and obviously as our board, we're being prudent because obviously we can't be insolvent. So we want to make sure that if there is a payment claim coming through from one of our contractors, we don't have money to pay that particular contractor. So come back to your question, there's a lot of milestones in those payments that we've got to reach. We're tracking them very carefully, and we're very confident that, well, I know we will achieve the December claim that will give us money in early February. Again, I just want to highlight, this is being prudent around just our cash flow in case there is a timing issue.
Yeah, okay, well, good to know.
Pleasure.
Any other questions, councillors? There being none, there'll be a motion on the screen. So someone to move that. Mayor Ravens, and seconded by Councillor Stemp. All those in favour? Has been carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Chris. Moving on to 6.5, Audit and Risk Committee. September 2025, and Mark can speak to this one. Thank you.
Through the Chair. This report provides an update on the matters which were discussed at the Audit and Risk Committee, which was held on the 4th of September and also on the 16th of September of this year. The confidential attachment of the Chairperson's report provides additional details regarding some of the agenda items which were discussed at these meetings, and we're happy to take any questions.
I note that item 6.5 is a public report with a confidential attachment. A proposed resolution to move this matter is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move into a closed session for this item? Councillor Stemp. Do I need a seconder? Yes. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bradley. All those in favour? We have that carried. Do I need to go around for that? No? Cool. Excellent. That's
I'm
been carried.
against, Councillor Jackson.
Sorry, hang on. Sorry, who just called me? Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm also against.
No worries. The motion's been carried. Please be advised that the meeting is now closed in closed session, and therefore the live stream of this meeting has been suspended. There's a motion on the screen regarding this report. Have someone to move that when you're ready. Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Stemp. All those in favour? That's been carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 6.6. I note that 6.6 is a public report with a confidential attachment. A proposed resolution to move this matter is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move into closed session for this item? Councillor Stemp, thank you. Second, Councillor Russell. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Councillor Haramai, how do you vote?
Against.
Thank you.
Can I also be recorded as against?
Please be advised that the meeting is now in closed session. All right, there is a motion on the screen to receive this report. When you're ready, if someone wants to move that. Councillor Hall, thank you. Someone to second it. Mayor Raven. All those in favour? That's been carried. Thank you, councillors. Does anyone have any general business for the Corporate Governance Manager? Do you have any for us?
Through the chair, no, I don't.
Thank you. Uh, 6.7. All right, 6.7. Confidential report on merchant surcharge rate. I note that 6.7 is a confidential report. A proposed resolution to move this matter is displayed on the screen. Do any councillors wish to move into a closed session for this item? Councillor Bradley, someone to second that? Councillor Wilcox, all those in favour? That's been carried. Councillor Haramai, how do you vote?
Against.
Thank you. Please be advised that the meeting is now in closed session. Someone to second it? Mayor Raven. All those in favour? That's been carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Mark. Moving on to your next one, 6.8, Local Infrastructure Program.
Thank you, Chair. We're seeking to endorse expenditure under the Local Infrastructure Program for new projects and amendments to previously approved projects. There was circulated yesterday an updated tabled attachment 1 and late last week attachment 3. All proposals align to LIP policy with the exception of the project identified in attachment 3. The special consideration project does not meet standard LIP policy as the club does not lease a council-owned facility. The updated attachment 1 lists 20 new projects proposed for approval to the combined value of 1.137 million. Attachment 2 lists 1 project amendment. Happy to take questions.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Through the chair, I want to sincerely thank Margaret and staff for coming to meet with me and getting the Division 1 LIP funding sorted. A double payment out definitely made a big impact. So hence the alarm bells went off. So very grateful, and it'd be great eventually to have that all automated and rather than manually put in. But I'm happy to move the report when it's ready.
Councillor Haramiah.
Thank you. I have a question around one of the projects in Division 8 that's been mentioned. Now, the project is LIP 01013, and it's described as the supply and installation of bin stands at Stoneleigh Reserve Park and Hog Park in Logan Reserve. It's mentioned that community consultation is a no. These ideas were brought up at a mobile office near those locations. So the community was consulted around it, but a big issue that I see with that is the funding amount. Now, it initially started with an idea about a bin. The funding that was mentioned to me verbally was ridiculous, in my opinion, for the installation of some bins, so I recommended a bin stand. Then the amount came back and it was mentioned around the complexity of the location. I went to the location and the land's flat. It doesn't seem like there'd be any difficulty to get a vehicle there to install this bin stand. And the price of $5,600 for 2 bin stands seems to be excessive. I'd like to ask, before I can vote on this, I'd like to understand, is that a maximum price range? And will myself as the divisional councillor be informed about the price before the bin stands are installed? Because I don't think it matches the community's expectations when you go on site and you inspect the location for those bin stands to cost $5,600. So number one, will I be informed if the price is actually less than that? Number two, is this $5,600 an absolute maximum and it just has a large contingency attached to it to make sure that the funding isn't an issue? And number three, are these prices realistic?
Thank you. Great question. Through the chair, yes, you will be engaged if the price comes in under, and that will come through as a repayment back to the LIP allocation for Division 8. In terms of a maximum, I can't speak to what the branch may come back with the cost, but should there be a material amendment required, we can put that through in a future committee. So it'll all be dependent on the cost. And the third one?
Are the prices reasonable was the third one, I think. Sorry, through the chair. I mean, I guess it's hard for us to answer that question, Councillor Haramiah. I guess that's a question for the branch providing the quote for this particular work. So I'm happy to take that one on notice and talk to the branch about that and provide you with an answer out of session in terms of how they've derived that amount.
Yeah, that would be good to know. I think I'll throw a bit of a monkey wrench in this committee, Mr. Chair. I'd like that LIP project to be put on hold. It is in Division 8. I think $5,600 for 2 bin stands is excessive. I've checked the elevation there. I don't see how it can cost that much. So I'd like to put that on hold through an amendment to the recommendation or something like that, because I think we can get some better prices on these bin stands. $5,600 for bin stand seems excessive, and it would be good to get some information as to what that $5,600 actually includes.
Could I ask if we approve all LIPs, can a councillor come back to their item and question it, challenge it, remove it?
Subsequent to the council decision, it would have to come back to a subsequent City Governance Committee for adjustment if it was approved today. That would be on the basis that the actual project wasn't completed in that time frame. If it did go through today, I'd be happy to talk to the officers about getting the Councillor Haramiah that information before it actually proceeded.
To order, Mayor Raven.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I'm a little bit perplexed. So, with your indulgence, Councillor Haramiah, did you not fill in a LIP form to submit this to committee?
Yeah, I supported the idea of these bin stands because I held a mobile office in Logan Reserve and residents came up to me and said, we have this awesome park in Stoneleigh Reserve. It's super popular. There's rubbish everywhere. Can we get some bins? And then I asked council officers and they came back with prices for bins that were excessive. And I said, oh, what's the solution? Bin stands. Can we get it down? Bin stand price came back. It was mentioned around elevations to the site being difficult. I thought, okay, well, let's bring it to committee. Let's investigate it a bit more. I've gone on site, seen the elevation's not that difficult. So I don't think that $5,600 should be approved. I support the idea of a bin, just don't support council spending $5,600 on it, especially when I went on site and physically inspected it. Doesn't seem to be that much.
I understand that, but you signed the form, right?
Yeah, I signed the form for council to consider it.
And you knew it was $5,600 when you signed the form?
I took on good faith from council officers that the elevations on the site were complex. I went out on site and the elevations aren't that complicated. Vehicle access is very simple. So I support the idea of people coming to me as a councillor, me putting forward the idea to council officers to investigate. Now we're voting on whether or not the funding should be allocated. I think we can get a better price.
Okay, so thank you, I appreciate that. So my confusion is that as a councillor, I would never have signed a LIP form if I didn't want to consider it by council because I thought it was a good use of ratepayers' money. So I don't understand how we get to this point where we're changing amendments when you could have withdrawn the LIP form at any time and then we don't have this process because you're the divisional councillor, you know better than anyone else. And if you thought 5,600 was high and you were going to do a site inspection, if I was the divisional councillor, I wouldn't have signed the paperwork until I was confident that that was a good use of ratepayers' funding. Now we're going to have to go through this process where we pull it, we do, and some work's been done to include it. And I suspect too, the reason why it said no community engagement is just because the box didn't get ticked on the form, which may have just been an oversight, because it literally just asks you that to make sure that you've done some. You obviously did because the community's idea comes straight from them. But yeah, I just don't understand, because if we start doing this where there's a whole bunch of reports that come up to council, only then to be pulled by the councillor that asks council to consider it, becomes a pretty poor use of ratepayers' resources and time. So is this a one-off, an unusual circumstance, or are we going to see more of this?
Well, it depends on advice that I received from council officers. The council officers took the idea on board. I appreciate that they took it on board. Now, I was informed around elevations being difficult at the site. I assumed that the council officers would know the elevations on the site and the advice would be good. Now, when I saw the price come back, I said, wow, that price is excessive, especially for bin stands. So the idea behind this project is really simple. It's just getting a good price for an idea brought to me by the community. I want to see bins go in, whether it's a stand with an independent bin. I don't mind if it takes up a committee because I think we should go back and get a better price.
Go ahead.
I do mind if we take up the time of the committee because I feel that councillors should do their due diligence before it becomes a committee issue. You're well within your rights to do everything you said. Don't object to any of that, but do it before you sign the document saying you want council to consider it. That's my only feedback.
Councillor Stamp. All good? Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. It's something, Director, that you said, which is it's got to come back to council to be removed. But in getting my entire local infrastructure program funding, there's a number of transactions cancelled without it coming to council. So I'm just not quite sure that, so where LIP projects have been pulled after they've been approved or they've been found to not be viable, that doesn't come back to council with great regularity that I can spot. That's my only concern about that.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. If it's a subject to a council decision, so if it's on one of these reports in an approved project, then that's something I absolutely have to look into, because my view is if it's a council decision, then to reallocate that funding should also be a council decision.
Haven't we had cases where LIP is added between committee and council? So can it not be removed between committee and council?
It absolutely can be. So we can, obviously, the decision is actually made at the ordinary council meeting next week. So between today and next week, we can alter the decision.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Look, I just want to clarify from the divisional councillor, because he's the one who is answerable to the community that he represents. And if he wants to make a decision to remove it, to investigate, whatever, that's up to him because he has to answer to the community. But I just want to clarify, did you say, am I right in what I thought you said, that you went out after you signed it and realised that it wasn't elevated, the site, and that's why you're asking for it to be removed?
Yeah, it's around the description of the scope. So
Right.
I got a form, and the form described 2 bin stands for $5,600.
Yep.
Now, I've been out on site for years. I've delivered similar LIP projects, but for massive playgrounds there. I know the site very well. The scope of the project in that form is not described to a level that we could actually identify what they would be doing. So bin stands, does that include concreting the surface? Does that include just putting in a single stand? What does that scope actually include? And once I went on site, I determined we wouldn't have to do concreting. We wouldn't have to have special vehicle access because there's already a gate there. There's been projects where you've seen council install poles for hundreds of dollars. We could do the same thing with a bin stand that cost a similar amount instead of $5,600. So the scope of the project was unclear on the form. I've decided that I'm going to be proactive and actually say, the purpose that the community wants is just a bin. Let's do it for the most affordable, effective way.
Okay.
And I thought I would step in here before council actually allocates the funding.
Yeah. Through the chair, if I may just add, to me, this is the appropriate forum to do so because we're in committee, to cancel it. And it's been granted before, so I can't see why it's a precedent that has happened before, and Councillor Lane may decide one day to ask for her projects to be removed so she can investigate further. So personally, I don't have an issue with that. That's what a divisional councillor is here for.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I'm okay with you pulling the project if you have to, and that sort of thing, to get the project that you want to suit your community. Kudos to you. I like the idea of getting a bin stand. I think that's quite good, especially if you can get it cheaper. However, on the LIP form, I know when I sign my LIP forms, there's a dollar amount on there. Was the dollar amount on there as well as a bit of a vague description?
Yeah, there was a 2-line description and it was very similar to the description on this LIP project table, and it had the dollar amount, but the actual scope of the project was not described to a level. So for example, $5,600 to do a massive concreting, to put in a bin in a location that's difficult to access could actually be reasonable. Now, actually reflecting on the scope, we could reduce the scope, we could do it for cheaper, and we could use vehicles through the appropriate access. That makes it far cheaper to install. So it's not a question of whether or not the dollar amount was on the LIP form. It was. It's a question of what is that dollar amount actually going to build? And I don't think we need to spend that amount of money on getting this outcome when we can do it for far cheaper and get the same thing.
So question, are we able to defer this to ordinary council rather than making a decision today? Defer it to ordinary council so that we can actually get parks involved in the meantime to actually refine what it is. Because I know when I have projects that are LIP funded and there's money left over, it doesn't come back through council, but it just goes back into my LIP fund. So surely this could be actually the same sort of project, even if it was approved for $5,600, the scope could be revised in between now and next Wednesday, even between now and when it's actually done. You could either revise the amount next week or we could revise the projects so that we're actually getting a different outcome.
It's pretty normal for the LIP table to change between committee and council. Just remove it before next week. I'm going to take the original motion to the floor, but one more question. Thanks, Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Chair. Just for clarification, I'm not opposed to this being pulled. You want to pull it? Pull it. It's not a problem. We've just spent 10 minutes talking about why we shouldn't pull it when we could just go, yep, let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to have a motion on the screen. I'm going to table the form first. Yes?
For clarity, to deliver what Councillor Jeremiah wants, does the original motion have to fail?
No, Councillor Bannon, it's a good question. So the process would be if the original motion is put and seconded, it would be up to Councillor Jeremiah to move a motion to amend the original motion to remove that LIP project, which would then be voted on. And if that amendment to the motion was accepted, then you'd vote on the motion as amended.
So you did that after we vote on this motion? I thought you did that
No,
before.
so you don't actually go to vote, on this motion, so you basically, it's moved and seconded, it's on the floor for discussion.
Someone wants to speak to the motion?
At that time, councillor Jeremiah moves a motion to amend the motion, which he would put, and that would be voted on by councillors as to whether you accept the amendment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you vote on the motion. Does that make sense? Yep.
I feel like it's making a super complex process for something you can do any day of the week in the next 7 days. But let's take the process.
Councillor Jackson,
yes.
with that, who's you? So you say you can remove it any time in the next 7 days. Who are you referring to when you say
Anybody.
you?
Any councillor can remove their items from the LIP form
Okay, Robert, I would like to remove that item from
between now and
from this attachment. You've described that the way we do that is by amending the motion. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, you can have opportunity once we've moved and seconded it, okay? You'll have opportunity to throw an amendment that the councillors can then vote on. Is this, where are we up to in this process? Are we still in questions? Yes?
Thank you, Mr Chair. I guess because LIP forms are a form that are put forward by the council officers, which we choose to support or not to support, can we as councillors remove them, or is it a council officer that needs to remove a report or add a report?
Ideally, the project, it's a discussion between the relevant council officer and the divisional councillor with regard to a particular project and the scope of a particular project. So ideally, it's a joint decision to remove it.
Okay, so just to be clear on the process that we're going to move through, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder to this original motion, the LIP form that's been presented in the report. Once it's seconded, councillor Jeremiah can present an amendment that we will then vote on that amendment, whether we're receiving that amendment or not. That's where we're going. Okay. Mover. Thank you, Mayor Raven. Seconder, councillor Murphy. Councillor Jeremiah, do you have a question? Sorry? Oh, sorry, this is tabling. We're just tabling. Sorry, let's go for tabling the form, the table. All in favour of tabling the table? Yes, that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Back to the original motion on the report for the LIP form. Someone to move that? Mayor Raven. Someone to second that? Councillor Bannon. Yes, Councillor Jeremiah.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I would like to amend this motion. Now, we see we have 3 clauses here, and I would like to add the following phrase to the end of clause 1, and it will state after be approved, a comma, and it will say to the exclusion of LIP 01013. Thank you.
Just give us a sec to put that up for you. All right, the amended motion is on the screen to vote on. That's been moved by Councillor Jeremiah.
That's voting to accept the amendment.
Right, this is voting to accept the amendment, seconded by Councillor Bradley. Any questions? All those in favour? That's been carried. Councillor Stemp, how do you vote?
I'm abstaining on this one, thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 6.9. Oh, sorry, we've got to vote on what? That was just voting on the amendment. Now we're voting on the motion. Motion is on the screen. So to move that. Following instructions here. Sorry, I saw a hand over. Yes, thank you. Councillor Bannon, seconded by Mayor Raven. All those in favour? That's been carried. Thank you, councillors. How do you vote, Councillor Stemp?
I'm abstaining again on that one.
Thank you very much. All right. Monthly financial performance report, September 2025. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Presenting Council's financial performance for the period ending 30th of September 2025. Council reports an operating surplus of 27.53 million, which is 15.19 million above budget. Operating revenue is 10.8 million above budget, driven by higher private works and Logan Water, increased development assessment fees, higher commercial waste volumes and waste levy income, the uptake of 3-year animal registration option, additional interest from investments, and early receipt of grant funding. Operating expenses are 4.35 million below budget due to savings in employee costs due to temporary vacancies and reductions in major contracts and external hire in transport services. Capital expenditure is 14.97 million above budget, mainly due to carryovers from 24-25 for works within Logan Water, land acquisitions and road infrastructure delivery ahead of schedule. This is expected to realign to budget later in the financial year. There has been a number of risks identified, being additional pay fortnights under the new certified agreement may challenge cost absorption in employee costs, and insurance premium pricing remains a risk until projections are received. There is an update on the debtors table from that that's listed. The majority of those debts have now been paid, those which are greater than 90 days, greater than 60 days, and we just have one remaining from the SEQ City Deals, which is being progressed. Happy to take questions.
Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. Just through the chair, just in relation to the fortnightly payment, what was it previously?
So this financial year, we have an additional pay fortnight, and now the CA agreement, a CA has been certified. It's coming into play, and we're looking at how that's how the fortnightly pay is increasing compared to previous. We've got to get some more trending before we understand what the impacts are. Yeah.
Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Just 3 quick ones. The SEQ funding you mentioned, but do we know an idea of timing on that one? Do we have an idea of when that's going to come through?
So they have paid the 3.5 million. The 5.8 has been progressed, so the claim has been assessed and progressing, and they're following up on when the actual payment will be made.
Okay. The other one was the additional maintenance is required on bus stops of approximately 300,000. I know there's been some discussion for a while that this program was going to end. Is there a reason why this wasn't included in last year's budget? Like why there'll be a budget amendment? I'm just curious, as I would have thought it may have been included.
My understanding is they weren't aware when the budget was being built, so it's only come to fruition that yes, the state has confirmed that that program has stopped.
Okay, so we've only just received confirmation. Okay. And the only other one I thought was interesting, it said if the changes to Logan Plan 2026 are deemed to be significant, the state may direct us to repeat consultation, which will increase costs and delay implementation of the scheme beyond revised targets of late 2026 as a risk. It was just the first thought I knew that could even be something we might have to do. Is that something that's specified as part of the whole process? I was just curious. I haven't heard of that before, that was all.
That's information that we received from that branch in terms of it is a risk in that if we aren't delivering in the programming that's anticipated, the risk is that the cost will flow over into an extra financial year. I'll have to find out more information from the branch manager.
Some more information on that one would be just interesting because it's the first I've heard that could be a risk. So thank you.
Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Mr Chair. Page 118 of the report has Growth, Economy and Sustainability Directorate. I note that they're coming in above budget, which is great for our operating revenue, but their expenditure is also over budget, but there's no explanatory information on that. Can you offer anything, Marg, or...?
Through the chair, I'll have to get some more information on that.
Thanks. So will you send that to me or will you come back at General Council?
I can send it out to all councillors.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Being none, there's a motion on the screen. Someone to move? Mayor Raven, someone to second this motion to receive the financial report. Councillor St Ledger. All those in favour? That has been carried. Councillor Lane, how do you vote?
Thanks, I'll just abstain until I have that information.
Thank you. And 6.10, quarterly investment report for September. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Providing an overview of Council's investment portfolio performance for the quarter ending 30th September. All investments are compliant with Council's investment policy. As at 30th of September, Council's total cash holdings are $541 million, a decrease of $59 million from the previous month, reflecting the rating cycle. Year-to-date net interest earnings are $6.04 million, exceeding budget by $3.64 million. The QTC cash fund delivered a 12-month rolling return of 4.82%, outperforming the benchmark, which is 4.18%. The QIC short-term income fund delivered a 12-month rolling return of 6.32%, also outperforming the benchmark. Council's borrowings stand at $595 million, with a weighted average cost of debt of 4.77%. The investment portfolio remains highly liquid, with 95% held in QTC and QIC funds. The finance team will continue to monitor market trends and interest rate movements for future investment decisions. Happy to take questions.
Any questions? There being none, there will be a motion on the screen to receive this report. Anyone like to move that? Mayor Raven, someone to second it? Councillor Bannon, all those in favour? That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. And thank you, Mark. Does anyone have any general business for the finance manager? Mark, do you have any for us?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. 6.11, operational plan for 25-26, quarter one report. And Emily is coming up for that one. Thank you, Emily. You can speak to your report.
Thank you, through the Chair. Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Council is responsible for providing leadership and good governance for the City of Logan and manage the city's resources in an effective and sustainable manner. Each year we set out our annual priorities in the operational plan. So this quarter one report shows how we're tracking against the 25-26 plan in line with the local government regulation. There are 39 projects within this year's operational plan. After the first quarter, 38 are reported as on track. One project was completed and project health is at 100%, up from 88% last year. The project that was completed within this quarter were the upgrades to the District's ex-Services Memorial Gardens cenotaph. This project delivers a safe and welcoming space for the community to remember ex-service men and women. To improve transparency from a budget perspective, this quarter we have included additional amounts of information about how projects are progressing from a budget perspective. At the end of this first quarter, 31 projects were recurrent funded, 4 were on budget, 3 projects were over budget and 1 project was under budget. The advice I have is that most project budget differences were due to timing only, but pleased to say all projects remain on track for completion within the financial year. So Council can adjust the plan as needed. This quarter we propose 1 minor amendment to better reflect the scope of the Logan Indoor Sports Centre demolition project. Thank you and happy to take any questions.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Lane.
Thanks. So it's not so much a question as more feedback. Focus Area 2 Proud City has the Disability Action Plan. And one of the things that we don't have in the city is an action plan for public amenities, and also when we're doing park upgrades and footpaths, those footpaths don't extend beyond the actual park centres. So I think when it comes to that sort of commentary and the report card on that, I think we're lagging a little bit when it comes to our Disability Action Plan and implementing policies that allow us to apply for funding at various models. We've got more and more complex disabilities occurring throughout the city, And I just think that we need to keep moving in that sphere to make sure that we're the most progressive and up to date, particularly as new areas come online. It should be an automatic installation for them. We'll fight in the old areas, but the new ones certainly should be as compliant and as accessible as possible. So, yep, just wanted to give that feedback.
Thank you, Councillor.
Any other questions, councillors? There being none, there's a motion on the screen to endorse this report. Anyone like to move that? Councillor Hall, the seconder. Councillor Wilcox, all those in favour? It's been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. And 6.12, Phase 2 Policy Modernisation. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here today to seek endorsement of for Phase 2 of the Policy Modernisation Initiative. So as councillors may be aware, this is about making council's policies clear, simple and future fit so they meet the needs of a growing city. And through the Chair, I have a brief presentation today. I've got the clicker. My apologies. Okay, so just a recap about this project. So council have built layer upon layer of policy over time. Currently, we have 219 policy documents. Many are outdated and duplicative. Councillors may be aware that no wholesale review has been done since 2017. Compared to other local governments in South East Queensland, we have about 3.5 times as many policies, which is over 300% more. Too many rules risk creating confusion and ultimately make transparency a little more challenging. So in terms of the initiative we have underway, we're making some really strong headway. Last month, Council endorsed Phase 1 of the policy suite, which saw 2 new policies replace 35. Adopting Phase 2 today will see 47% of all Council's policies modernised. So overall, in terms of the project progress, we're 60% completed with Phase 3, the next phase, fully drafted and in the pipeline. So just to recap again, the approach to modernisation brings council in line with modern Australian regulatory frameworks, moving us towards a principles-based framework supported by targeted prescription where we need, clear principles in the policies we're putting forward, guide decisions where rules just can't cover every situation. So, today finding a policy, for residents, finding a policy means searching through 219 documents. In this Phase 2 alone, that's almost 70 policies. In the future state, policies will be easier to find, clearer and stronger, and every decision under the new policies, including those before you today, means that they follow principles, not opinion. So today we are sharing, we're presenting 3 new policies which modernises 69 legacy policies which largely date back to 2017. Our new policies provide clear guidance and they retain essential guardrails in areas such as city mobility infrastructure, water, waste, and the community sphere. So quite broad ranging. Over the past few months, we've consulted regularly with councillors and internal subject matter experts, some of whom are here today, to ensure that this policy suite is fit for purpose. Councillors have been able to contribute through workshops, advisory groups, and other mechanisms. And this ongoing involvement is really, really beneficial, and it really helps to ensure that the policies reflect the needs of the community, and we intend to keep on this process. So I'll just very quickly run through a couple of practical scenarios in terms of applying these 3 new policies. So scenario 1 is a local group who wants to hold a street party with food, games and music. They need to seek council approval to close their street. So the old 2017 policy required them to have 80% of the street support street party. It limited them to certain streets only, and it was quite a complex application process. In the new policy, there's still a mechanism for street closures, but we've removed the need for 80% support from the street because that's often very difficult to achieve. And it supports a case-by-case assessment of the proposed street party with fit-for-purpose conditions to ensure safety and amenity. As an example, under the Thriving Communities policy, how this could be applied. During a home break-in, let's say a gate is left open by the offender and a dog escapes. So, and the owner later finds that dog at the Animal Management Centre. That is a scenario which comes up. So under the old 2017 policy, owners would have had to search through 219 policies to find out if getting their dog out of the Animal Management Centre would cost them or whether the fees could be waived. Under the new policy, we've made this more flexible. It's easier for residents to access it, access the information, and it's also more flexible on the types of circumstances where it might be beyond the owner's control, the animal owner's control. And the final scenario is in the water, waste and energy space. So hypothetically, let's say an unexpected event temporarily shuts down a council waste facility, leaving residents and businesses without a way to dispose of waste. So under the old policy, it was rather restrictive. It spoke to council offering free tip vouchers and redirection to other sites. But it was quite specific as to what council could and couldn't do. In the new policy, it's a more flexible framework. When these emergency closures do take place, ensures multi-channel communication with residents, alternative disposal options, and continuation of free vouchers, but it's not restrictive in any sense. So those are examples of how the new policy is future fit and more flexible to cater to a range of different scenarios. And finally, in recommending that council adopt these new policies today, we have some strong post-implementation controls in place. So firstly, it starts with council endorsement. But then before the policies go live, we have an implementation process which sees us publish information out of the existing policy suite, which is valuable for residents. So that the things that residents need to know, such as how to apply for things, how to access services, and that will be fully available to the public before these go live. And it won't be until that point that these go live. And then after that, because this is quite a large modernisation piece, we have built in a 6-month review period so that we can make some. We can do some fine-tuning if needed on the policies after adoption. So there's that strong safeguard in place. And of course, beyond that, there's ongoing periodic review of the policies as time goes by. So we thank you, councillors, for your input on these. We recommend that all Phase 2 policies be endorsed today. Happy to take any questions or take any feedback on board. Thank you.
Mayor Raven.
Thank you, Chair, through you, and excellent work to Emily and the team. Appreciate the reduction of red tape. I wasn't at the Policy Advisory Group to ask provocative questions, so I will ask them now instead, so everybody can go on the journey. So on page 209 of the report, which for councillors' benefit is discussing the city shape, mobility and infrastructure policy, there is where it's outlining the evaluation of existing policies. It speaks to the early acquisition of property for council infrastructure projects policy and explicitly defines that we will offer early acquisition to properties that are experiencing hardship, and then it goes on in the policy solution to how to integrate it. It talks, and thank you to Emily for providing me some advice on this beforehand. It goes on to define when early acquisition will be offered and what hardship is defined by, which is great. It feels a little bit prescriptive though, and I'll give an example that pertains to Councillor Heremeyer's electorate from last term, which was where a number of properties along School Road are required for resumption in order to do a significant road upgrade, which his community has been waiting for a very long time. Council has been aware that we were going to need those properties as part of that road upgrade for more than 10 years. But because we don't inform residents until we get to 25% of design stage, it means that some residents continue to invest capital in their property, not knowing that council is on the verge of hitting that 25% threshold. And I'm trying to understand why we don't have a policy of when we do designate a road corridor, granted that we don't have detailed design, but we do know that at some point in the future we will need a road in that vicinity, why we don't inform residents so that they're aware of council's intentions when we make that decision. I know that the planning scheme is public, but there is no resident in the city who is going to go and check every time we do an amendment to see if we've added them to a layout plan or an infrastructure plan. And what it means is that when we come to do a critical infrastructure project like the school road diversion, it gets slowed down because there are people who have just literally invested in their property and will not realise the benefits of that capital gain in the market because we go to resume it shortly thereafter. That's really unfair on those people. And I don't understand why we have a policy that only targets hardship when really we could say to anyone who's got a future road or other use planned over their property, hey, at some point in the next 20 years, council may need your property, and at any time you can come and offer to sell it to us at your discretion or not. Like we're not trying to take it from you, but it means that they can plan, because as we've seen, particularly with the concerns around the introduction of the new planning scheme and the flood mapping that's in there, people want certainty over the long term about the future of their property. And when council makes decisions to identify as a road corridor or something else, it can impact that certainty, especially if they're unaware of it until it gets to 25% design, which is usually about 18 months to 2 years before the project is going to be delivered, which isn't very long in terms of how long you want to plan your property. So while what I want to really confirm from you, Emily, and you've given it to me in writing, but for the benefit of councillors, is there anything to stop a resident who identifies a property as being needed for road in the future to come to us and say, we would want to sell this to council, would you be considered buying it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the advice that I have is that, the proposed policy does not prevent early acquisition. It provides a framework for managing it appropriately. So early acquisition is available to any impacted landowner once there's sufficient certainty around the project. However, council can enter into a voluntary acquisition process with a landowner. Agreement by negotiation remains an option for all impacted landowners, whether or not they meet the specific criteria for early acquisition under the policy. So this approach is intended to balance, the responsible planning with flexibility to respond to individual circumstances.
So sufficient certainty is probably my concern, because you could build a $100,000 extension to your property and then a week later be told by council that we want to resume your property because we've reached the 25% threshold, which is incredibly unfair when council had knowledge that we did intend to build a road somewhere within the vicinity of your property for upwards of a decade beforehand. So I'm just trying to understand what policy changes would we have to make, and I'm not saying that councillors are supportive of that now, but what policy changes would we have to make to proactively notify residents when their property has an infrastructure overlay on it that could impact their future use of their land, because we may want to resume it in future? And is it in this policy? If not, that's fine. And if we wanted to do that, would that actually have to be a policy, or could it be something that we implemented through a procedure and a process that when we update the planning scheme, we write to notify impacted residents?
Thank you for that question. I understand this is a strict carryover of this existing policy position, and it's not stipulated in the current or the proposed policy, but property owners may choose to voluntarily sell their land to council at any time. I do have Lucille, our corporate property manager, in the room, who I might, through the chair's indulgence, ask her to speak to this item, if I may.
Thanks, Lucille.
Thanks, Emily. Through you, Chair. So this policy doesn't limit or mandate what the capital delivery branches might do as part of their process, their engagement process, so that can be worked on outside of this policy if that's something that we want to review from an organisational perspective. With regards to early engagement with impacted owners, what the prerequisites are as it currently stands is that it's an identified project and that there's funding available. So they're probably the two most pertinent criteria in assessing whether or not we can enter into early negotiations.
Thank you. And it's probably just the intent of communicating openly and transparently with residents when council makes a structure plan that overlays their property. It gives them the opportunity to put in submissions and make objections to planning schemes that may come up in the meantime, but also it feels like it's in the public interest, because if you've got to resume a number of properties, each one can take quite a long period of time, and if the resident feels aggrieved because they weren't aware of the impact of the intention of council to do that, they have every right to seek legal processes and everything else that resumption entails. So I just feel that we could more effectively deploy council's resources and include our community members on the journey, which would then deliver critical infrastructure for safety reasons, like the school road upgrade, sooner rather than later, which is exactly what Councillor Heremiah is hearing every week. I'm seeing people make comments on it on social media, on his and mine. I get regular emails about it. I know he does as well. And if a decision of council could have brought that project 2 years forward, because we'd already communicated early with those residents, and we wouldn't even be having those conversations, and that intersection would be safe already. So it's one of those areas where I think, while it's the way we've always done things, I'd be open to investigating what more we could do. But if it's not through this policy, I'm happy to pursue it through Lucille and understanding how we could do better communication from the capital delivery branches.
Thank you. Was there further comments you guys wanted to make on that?
Yes,
thanks, Robert.
I suppose further, just spoke to Emily, this policy doesn't seem to preclude that work being done, so I think I'm happy to take that work on and do that behind the scenes.
Thank you. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Mr Chair. 219 policies, and we've got currently 26 procedures on the website because it's all wrapped up in the existing policies. So the wording around the procedures is in that. I just want to make sure that when we make these changes, that those procedures are still in the forefront, that residents can look them up and they can understand what the procedures are, that there's no, I've gone forward to do this, and the policy, overarching policy says I can have landscaping on my footpath, but there are hidden procedures that they have to trigger, and if they don't trigger them, then they get, notices from council. I would not like to see that happen. So you're guaranteeing me that the procedures, as much as possible, will be forward-facing and transparent and on the website.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Lane. Absolutely. Transparency is really critical to this piece of work. Any procedures that are currently on the website will remain there, but we will be actually enhancing transparency by ensuring that any procedural related information that's critical for residents will be available in the public domain to residents before the policies go live. So so we're ensuring transparency by describing how they're being dealt with through the discussion papers, and we're following that through in the implementation phase to make sure that residents have enough information when these policies are published.
Thanks. And as part of this, are you adjusting or amending the procedures as they exist?
Through the chair, yes, we will need to adjust in certain circumstances.
Thanks. Does that come before councillors?
We will be sharing with councillors as part of our consultation, as part of this initiative, the draft information that will be going to the public to make sure that...
So an internal council adjustment of procedures will be proceeding as part of this policy overarching work, and we will be given notice along with the public of what those changes will be.
Through the chair, we'll be sharing with councillors the information that we intend to make publicly available before it is made publicly available, to make sure that we haven't missed anything.
Thanks. And do we have capacity to amend, adjust or change those, or is that an operational?
That would be a case-by-case operational matter that would be navigated with the branches.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you very much. Just in regards to actually the early acquisition of property, I know it says that it was adopted in 2017. I'm sure there was something in 22, and it was in regards to a road project in my area where they wanted to do early acquisition of properties and that sort of thing. I literally can't find it in the e-scribe. It did go through committee. I do know that. So I just can't find how that went through and how that actually sits within this one. That's my only concern with that one. And then my other one, thanks Emily, we spoke about this the other day, is point 17 for councillors. It's funding of concrete footpaths, bikeways policy. I'm concerned about the wording in here because it says that we recommend that funding of concrete footpaths, bikeways policies be repealed as its function is now fully managed under the local infrastructure program. I'm just concerned that it says that it's fully managed under the local infrastructure program and that it doesn't actually say that new roads, actually take into account, new developments take into account footpaths and bikeways are actually embedded in those. That's my concern. Is there a way that we can amend it slightly so that it doesn't read that it's purely under LIP?
Through the chair, thank you for that observation. I can advise that developers are still required to build footpaths as part of new developments, and those requirements will remain unchanged and separate from councillor funding decisions. So nothing in the policy gets in the way of that at all. We didn't include it in the draft policy because it was we had an existing policy that dealt with it, and this sort of sits to one side. So we'd be certainly open to receiving feedback on how that could be framed. But from a policy perspective, we didn't feel that it was necessary to recognise in the policy, as it is something which happens as a matter of course.
Mayor Raven.
Not on that, but sideways relevant. Michael, your favourite question of all time, and I know that I've asked this before and I'll ask it again, is that in the water, waste and energy policy, it says that the waste vouchers, the tip vouchers will only be sent to ratepayers, not to residents. So by locking that into a policy, does that prevent council from making a budget decision to choose to fund the waste vouchers to be distributed to residents the same way that Brisbane does?
Thanks, Mayor Raven, through the chair. No, that would simply then result in a subsequent change to the policy position.
Thank you. And the reason why that's relevant to Councillor Wilcox's point is if we did decide to fund footpaths through a central funding process, you'd have to go through this similar sort of action, wouldn't you, Emily, where you adjust the policy to then bring back all of the things that we're repealing now?
If you were specific in the policy, through the chair, if you were specific in the policy, that's correct, Mayor Raven, you would have to adjust it. So the benefit of not having the detail in the policy is it becomes a budgetary decision rather than something that's stipulated in policy. I think the answer in relation to the vouchers would be it would require a change to policy at the same time as the budgetary decision. So it could be facilitated, it just would be a two-part process.
Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. Maybe I misunderstood what Councillor Wilcox was referring to, but date adopted 30th of 5th, 2017, funding of concrete footpaths, bikeways, transport services, road infrastructure planning to ensure that where applicable on major roads, concrete footpaths, bikeways are constructed concurrently with the road. Nowhere does it mention local infrastructure program funding. I would assume that given the sheer scope of infill development, that those major roads would have those built into them without local infrastructure program funding.
That is correct. My understanding is that policy predated LIP, the Local Infrastructure Program, so it was something that existed before LIP. The only reference to LIP is that LIP came into existence and part of the funding for footpaths comes from the Local Infrastructure Program. Not all of it, Councillor Lane. So I think mentioning of it in the commentary to the policy work has probably confused the situation a little bit, that it's not just LIP funded, it's built into programs, it's built into infrastructure charges, and it doesn't stop any additional budget initiatives or investment proposals in relation to enhancing the footpath program. So it doesn't have to be stipulated in policy for all that to exist. The only reference is to LIP is that LIP has come into being, is a structured process that can be used as a funding source to construct footpaths moving forward.
Thank you. So these are one of those procedures that will change as part of the policy review. So this policy is on the website right now, and it says anything funded under the Major Roads Program should have footpaths and bikeways considered as part of it. It doesn't say major thoroughfares, it says the Major Roads Program. So again, it doesn't reference local infrastructure, and it's been there since 2017. Local infrastructure program money's been around since 2020, was it, Robert? So we've had a while to adjust it. I'm just curious as to whether the new policy will say suburban streets under local infrastructure program, but major roads heading into those suburban streets, major feeder roads, should actually have cycle and footpaths as part of the build. They are, aren't they? That will still continue? Because it's unrealistic to expect a councillor to fund 5 kilometres of footpath and cycleway on major connector roads. That's unreasonable.
It's a good point, Councillor Lane. The intent of the change is not to put all footpath funding on the local infrastructure program. That's not the intent. So the process for constructing the infrastructure at the moment and the funding sources that are available to construct it won't change based on this policy position.
Councillor Bannon. Cool. We shall have a motion on the screen, moved by Councillor Bannon. Sorry, this is tabling the presentation. Moved by Councillor Lance, seconded by Councillor Wilcox. All those in favour of receiving that PowerPoint presentation? Yep. Tabling it. That's carried. Thank you. And now a motion on the screen to adopt phase 2. Policy modernisation. If someone's ready to move that. Thanks to Councillor Lane. Someone second it, Councillor Bannon. All those in favour? Has been carried. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
I wish to abstain and I wish to give a reason. In the absence of prescriptive policy, there is a heightened risk of diminished oversight regarding the discretionary decisions made by staff.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman.
Against.
And I abstained.
Thank you very much.
Due to point 17, thanks.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Emily and Doug. Yeah. Item 6.30. Oh, sorry. Does anyone have any general business for Enterprise Portfolio Manager? Have any for us? No. Thank you. 6.13, Quarter 1 Digital Transformation Program Update. Thank you, Rick.
Good afternoon, everyone, through the chair. Here today with Michelle Simpson, our Digital Transformation Program Manager. We're here to present the quarterly update of the Digital Transformation Program. The report talks about the progress that we've made in the last quarter. Largely, it's still what I would call the boring part of the project. We're working with the business on designs, and as at September 30, that's where we've been up to and progressing reasonably well. We now transitioned into the real meat where the code gets done, and we're about to start testing that and working with the business closely. I think it's fair to say the program is starting to experience some headwinds in this space, and this is largely in relation to sort of 3 areas. There's the vendor that we're working with and getting quick answers to how the solution will work. There's working with the business, which is also them working through 20 years of working in the same way and needing to operate in a different way, helping them understand how that will be. And then our project team themselves being able to merge those 2 things together and get answers. So each one on its own is not hard, but the mission of the team now is to make sure that we don't get a multiplying effect by those 3 things working together. Looking forward, we are looking to commence the next stage of testing where the rubber will really start to hit the road, and the next quarter we'll come back with some of the results in that space. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just wanting to check if it's still on budget, please.
Yeah, that's right. So the work that we're doing up for this financial year is tracking under budget at the moment. So we do have some wiggle room if things get close as we get to the end of financial year. Thank you.
There being no more questions, I shall put the motion to the screen. Someone to move that. Councillor Bannon, someone to second it. Councillor St Ledger. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Rick. Sorry, does anyone have any general business for Rick? Do you have any for us? So yes, thanks, Teresa.
Can I just say, The work of the IT branch has been amazing. They're very patient. As the computers lock me out every weekend and I can't access my emails and I come in on a Monday and I report it, they're very kind and very considerate. So maybe you might want to put on a morning tea because it hasn't been pleasant the last couple of weeks. There seems to be a bit of a glitch where we do get locked out of our computers, and I know when storm season is now here that I rely on my emails on my phone to be able to access the most up-to-date information as part of the local disaster management group. And so if I can't log on, I can't do that role and I can't get that information. So I just want to say a big shout out to those team. Nino, spot on, amazing. But seriously, stop locking us out because it's driving me nuts.
And I'll take that on notice. Thank you for raising it with me.
Thank you. Free to go. There being no late reports, this concludes the agenda for today. Does anyone have any general business for the Director, Robert Strachan? Do you have any for us? All right, we're good to go. I thereby declare the governance meeting of the, what are we today, 4th of November, concluded at 12:19, 12:20. Got it, thank you.